Oh, what's up, weirdos? Happy Saturday! I guess South America's back on the menu, boys! How's that for you? Release the files. Maduro is fake and gay, says chat. Yes. He is quite real and married, so we're not sure if he is gay, but we are here today. I'm literally trying to figure out how to work OBS streaming as we do this because I accidentally removed my chat from OBS streaming, and I have to now have the chat open up in YouTube so I can read your chat. What's London got to say? If they get 10 likes, you'll release the Anger Cops files. Good luck. New year, new me. Not really. All right, so obviously let's talk about today. What are we here for, right? We know what we're here for. We're here for President Trump doing a kinetic strike in Venezuela at several targets, mainly from what I understand, military at this moment, and sending in the goon squad, Delta Force, and I guess FBI's like, I forget what the FBI's Special Operations Unit is called. The one that burnt down Waco. Those gems. Extremely talented guys that used to be on, the team. But anywho, Delta guys went in and abducted a president. Just straight kidnapped him. United States is straight kidnapping leaders that we don't like. I like it. We don't need to bomb the piss out of anybody. We just go into your home and we take your dude when we say, that's enough of the drugs, Mr. Maduro. That's enough of you funneling money to drug cartels, terrorist groups, etc. We've had enough. I too woke up at like 4:30 in the morning to find out that we had run Venezuela president out and just snatched him. In fact, Brandon Herrera is the one that messaged me at like 4:34 in the morning. Trump's tweet and is like, is this real? To which I was like, yeah, it's real. Holy shit. He's been arraigned, or at least the charges were pressed on him in the Southern District. CNN reporting live from the Western District of New York. We're in the Southern District of New York. Nicolas Maduro, former president, now prisoner of Venezuela, will be or has been arraigned on RICO charges of drug trafficking. What was it? Possession of automatic weapons and dangerous devices, as well as narcotics and other things. Very interesting. Now, I've heard different reports. Some say that he was arraigned already this morning in the Southern District of New York, which is like Long Island, New York City. And I've also heard that he was captured and brought to New York to then be arraigned. Not sure if the arraignment has happened yet, but we do know that he is on a U.S. warship, the Iwo Jima. I don't know why they put out the Iwo Jima's name. I would have just said U.S. warship. Deal with it. Which, let's talk about that. A very smart place, if you think about it, to put a dude that you want to have in the utmost tightest security, right? There's so many places you can get on a ship, right? It's especially like the different. What would you call it? I don't want to call it a battleship because we really don't have battleships anymore, not the way that we used to. But let's say that he was put on like a carrier or in a carrier group, right? What is the USS Iwo Jima? Is the USS Iwo Jima a carrier? What type of ship? Is the USS Iwo Jima? It's a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship. Let's go to Wikipedia. I can't wait for Grokpedia to come out. How's the background music? So there was a carrier. Wasp class of users named the Battle of Iwo Jima. Either way, 2008. All right, so it's like a mini carrier. A lot of helicopters go on and off of it. I'm not sure about fixed-wing aircraft. But either who, let's talk about that. So if you're going to take somebody, you're going to put them on a U.S. naval ship, and I'll tell you why. One, they've already got so much radar and hardened. They're already battle hardened, right? They've got offensive capabilities. They've got amazing defensive capabilities. If you're going to try and get somebody off of, like, jailbreak somebody, you're not going to do it off of a United States ship. The USS Suck My Balls is what you're going to get instead of a prison break. You feel me? All right. anybody, Trinidad. We kidnapped a president. We arrested a president of a country, a significant country, who's assisting pretty much not great friends of ours, Russia, China, and Iran with oil and other support. In which those three countries are like, yeah, you make your drugs, go fuck with America, do your thing, have a nice day. Basically, Spanish Hamas. And in 35 minutes, I think the entire attack took place. 35 minutes. We took their entire thing. We just absolutely ridiculed them, made them look stupid. I hear the AG is going to talk. If the AG comes up, I'll split the screen. I'm on Fox News right now is what I'm looking at, but I've got CNN and a couple other things pulled up too. There have been a whole bunch of people talking on Twitter. People saying that this is an illegitimate attack on a country, that Congress needed to be notified. And then there's a whole bunch of other people saying that there's like Article 2 or Article 10 of the U.S. Constitution stating that the president has the ability to do lawful strikes or kinetic strikes against countries, terrorist organizations, etc., without Congress. And as long as this isn't a nation-building thing, I mean, Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 states executive power shall, Commander-in-Chief, when called the acts of service of the U.S. Congress, calls him first, not permanently. I mean, that quote kind of got a little bit jacked up there, Will Knight, but I see you trying to help me out. Oh, Shelby. You're just saying Shelby, Commander-in-Chief. Okay, I got you. Sailing Maduro on a U.S. Navy ship into New York Harbor has to be the biggest flex on the communist mayor in our nation's history. Hand on the Koran. Yeah, that's kind of a flex. Can you imagine? Yeah, communism's going to work here in America. The president of Venezuela floating in a barge with handcuffs on. Yeah, 2026 is already starting to cash in some fuck around and find out checks. Oh my God, my buddy texted me, what if this becomes a real life Air Force One? Dudes take over Air Force One, try to force Maduro's release, but Trump alone MacGyvers it and then kicks the guy off the back of the plane at the end. That would be beautiful. The Venezuelan president should have learned when we took the oil and said it was ours, which was, I'm fine with that. Listen, here's the deal. If you're going to tell somebody, hey, here's the line, don't cross it, and then they're just jumping over it like hopscotch, jump rope, whatever you want, and then, 10 years down the line, you finally act on it. Like, we gave you 10 years as a warm-up, my guy. Do you remember when Maduro was flexing with his, Marines on shore, and he's like, the Americans are going to come here. We're not going to let them. Where is that? I need to find that. I need to bring that up on YouTube. Oh, let's see, Maduro. Oh, geez, now it's all 4 hours ago. Come on, YouTube. Let me put the year in it and said they are ready. We'll say 2025. Nope. They're all doing it now. Gosh dang it. That is the one thing about the internet that is frustrating. About search and stuff is where is Maduro and his troops talking to all that smack? It's everything right now is Maduro arrested. I want to show that video of Maduro and Venezuelan troops. Because isn't that a flex? Isn't that just a flex to have them be like, oh yeah, you're not gonna get in here, eh? And then we waltzed in with fucking SOAR, our Special Operations Air Regiment, just being gangsters, as always. The first angry meme of the year. The first AMR is gonna be a banger, isn't it? Yeah, all the posts and experts that were saying the U.S. military couldn't do jack shit against us. Yeah, yeah. The U.S. is no better than Putin. Okay, that disagree with that one. Trying to get to some of these super chats. It is, yeah, got that one. Let's see. See, let's go on to X. I'm seeing a lot of people on social media right now that are like, he started a new war. Like, there was one guy, I forget, it was some representative that said, I sat by and watched him send people overseas, send, GWAT, the whole GWAT. And now we're starting a war in Venezuela. It's like, did we start the war, or did we tell a guy for like the past 8 years to settle the fuck down and that you need to, give up your power because your presidency is invalid? Like, you've been voted out by the people, and now you're having like a kangaroo court, like get rid of what was it? They got rid of voting records, and he won with like an 89% vote, which is impossible. Like, you can't win. Like, anything above 60 is like insane. Like, that's like really, really good if you get like 60% plus of the vote. That's massive, right? That means 20% of the population, 20% more of the population than the other side agrees with the president. And he's getting like 89, 90. What was that? What was the total? What was the outcome of the most recent Venezuelan presidential election? Tons of protests. Popular vote was pretty close, actually. 51% was basically like, I wish they showed me the overall percentages. It looked very close. And they're showing two separate votes, like one's CNA and one's con BZLA. I don't know what that is. Everyone runs under political party. National Electoral Council is the head. 105 branches of government. Okay, so there's popular votes, and then there's um, two separate polls that show the election. One shows Maduro winning by 1.1 million votes. And then the other one shows where he wins like 51% to 43%. And then the other one, an informal Venezuelan political entity to establish support for the candidacy of Maria Corina Machado, said, no, the votes are absolutely incorrect, and that the opposition to Maduro won by 4.1 million, which is significant. I hope we don't invade them. Right now, this is what I was trying to get on earlier. I don't think we're going to be invading. I don't think this is going to be a nation building thing. They already have a nation. They already have the dollar. They already have oil and infrastructure. And it was only like over the past 20 years did Venezuela go in the shitter. And you've got a lot of people that want change in Venezuela and are ready to take over. And if, let's say that it's even in the middle of Maduro's and then the opposition's voting records, right? Let's say that it's in the middle. That would still show the opposition is like winning by 5%, 10%, which is significant. So that means that majority of the voters would want this new regime in any way to replace the Maduro regime. So all you have to do is have that president step in. Most likely Maria Corina Machado, who was booted and was made ineligible for election by the Maduro administration. So she'll most likely step in as president, I would assume, and then make some significant changes in the economy and in the military. All right, let me knock out some of these super chats real quick. Oh, you enjoyed Des Moines. That's awesome. Gonna visit Paradise and make Chavez a parking lot. Best president ever. Let's go. My mother's people are free from that fat ass. Democrats are seething right now. I don't think all Democrats are seething. I think that people that want to play the political game see it as an opportunity to call Trump a war hawk, which is kind of whatever. You could say, there were a lot more deaths with the Obama administration with strikes. Do I have contributors on the ground? I wish I did. I wonder how the Chinese officials reacted to seeing the Monroe Doctrine in action. Very good. Let's bring up the Monroe Doctrine, which, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to butcher it because it's been a while since I've had, a discussion about European and Eastern politics in the Western world. But the Monroe Doctrine, if I'm not mistaken, as a generality, is basically, I forget, it was like President Monroe, obviously named after him, at the time was like, listen, European influence should be limited or none at all here in the New World. Like, your place, you had your chance, you did your thing. We want to get away from it and restart this new world. We don't want your influence over here. Let's look over the Monroe Doctrine real quick, right? We're learning together. Yeah, the United States foreign policy position that opposes European colonialism and in the Western Hemisphere. So all of North and South America. It holds that any intervention in the political affairs of the Americas, both North and South, by foreign powers is a potentially hostile act against the United States. It was enacted in the 20th century. So European, you could say, Russia's not really European, it's Asian, right? It's Northern Asia. But nonetheless, you get what I'm saying. Missed opportunity to temporarily name the USS ship USS Fentanyl. Oh, that'd be funny. I wonder what his nickname was. Like, you know how when they went after Osama bin Laden, his name was Geronimo. They're like, Geronimo's down, or, you know, contact with Geronimo, whatever it was, Geronimo. I wonder if his was like Hugo Chavez, because they did this raid on the anniversary of us taking out Hugo Chavez, if I'm not mistaken. Same similar style. We know how to rock with South America, man. OG says, remember when all the idiots kept saying good luck to the U.S. because Wagner's in Venezuela? Yeah, we go in and take the most important man and woman in the country out in just 35 minutes. People don't understand how amazing American military forces are, how precise we can be. And I'm not going to lie, for people that are getting upset over this, one of the things they're going to say is that we can't go to war with these people, or that these strikes were unnecessary, or this is an act of war, or whatever. And they're going to talk about like loss of life. What a small amount. Like somebody said it earlier on the news that I was watching. Like normally the U.S. is shock and awe, right? We're going in there, we're bombing a whole bunch of stuff. We're keeping your heads down. You know, B-2 stealth bombers just dropping BOABs on shit. This one was all rotary wing aircraft. I saw a ton of rotary wing aircraft, which is helicopters, putting missiles on locations. And let me tell you, you've got to have a lot of space between aircraft that's currently flying in the air and missiles, inbound missiles coming in and landing. You are not having incoming from overhead hit an area or a target zone where there are aircraft, friendly aircraft already there. Like that's got to be pushed out. So yeah, maybe there were a couple missiles in the beginning, but then like after the initial strike, you're looking at rotary wing aircraft, helicopters going in and putting Hellfire missiles on strategic locations. Did we blow up the Chavez mausoleum? The Chavez mausoleum hit was personal and pointed. No shit. Oh, shout out to Operation United Hope for people that need food, clothing, and furniture, diapers, etc. for veterans. The fact that we abducted a nation's dictator and fucked up his entire military, not his entire military, it was strategic, small amount. Mainly, I think it was radar. And faster than DoorDash can fuck up my food makes me okay with paying taxes. As long as you're not in Minnesota. Electric Beard, good call, right? Interesting question. Let's talk about that. You get the Maduro. Wait, what time is it? 11. Oh my gosh, Trump should be on. Where's Trump? Is he on right now? Okay. I see his presidential pulpit. Let me get ready to get over there. Trump, 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 Trump. Everybody's screaming Trump. I got you. I got you. I got you. Let's do a news read. Ooh, lower left PMP. Yeah, let's do this. All right, let me get the capture, window capture. Boom. This is so exciting. All right, so we're waiting for Trump. We're waiting for the big guy, the Prez, to show up and tell us what's up. I got him in my other screen, so I'm waiting on it. Don't worry. But anyways, Maduro is a bad dude. We went to a sovereign nation and basically abducted the president. Any consequences possible? I mean, here's the deal, right? If you're the biggest dog in the yard, like who's gonna come back and get you? And I will say this: it hasn't been like there has been, how do I say this? Our issues with Venezuela didn't start in September when we stated that cartels and drug traffickers were threats to the nation and stated that they're, whatchamacallit, terrorist organizations and treated them as such, right? That's been that way for a long time. I mean, you can even go back to like, what was it, the DARE? But we'll stay recently, right? We've been having issues with Maduro and drug traffickers since I would say before President Trump, during the later Obama administrations, was when Maduro was really ramping up and being a pain in the ass. And then during the first Trump administration, he was going full bore. And then during the Biden administration, it was just, he was making money hand over fist, especially the Tren de Aragua and a bunch of other organizations. And now, basically, the hens have come home to roost, right? So after years of saying, hey, this is an issue, don't do this. Hey, please don't do this. And even now, it was like a couple days ago or a week ago, Trump telling Maduro, hey, you need to stop this. You better stop. Shit's going to happen. And months before that, you know, them labeling Maduro a narco terrorist and on the FBI's most wanted list. Well, I think once they did that, that was the moment where the world said, okay, there's an issue, there's a strike, imminent, basically. Let's see how to play this. But either way, the writing's been on the wall for Maduro for, I mean, to be removed since the beginning of the Trump administration, this Trump administration. Even, you could even say before, when he was campaigning for presidency. But it took a different step in a more serious direction when he won the presidential election against Harris in November. So if this was just a random occurrence, like, hey, we're doing this now, maybe more rebuttal, but I'm not going to see it. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy. Can you not Night Bean? Can you give me a TLDR? I woke up from my birthday coma January 2nd and I need a refresher. Sure, bud. Easy peasy. Last night at about 1 in the morning, U.S. Special Operations Forces, as well as the FBI Special Operations Force, which I forget their fucking name, went down to Venezuela after a couple strategic airstrikes to radar locations and a couple military posts on Venezuela and abducted/arrested the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and brought him not just to the United States, but to New York City, where he's been arraigned or is about to be arraigned this morning. I believe he was already arraigned for the charges of narco-terrorism, machine gun manufacturing, firearms, dangerous weapons, or what's it called? Like, it's what, dangerous weapons? I forget the term for it now, but it basically means explosive devices. Along with his wife. And now they're on a warship because the safest place to put any bad guy is on a United States warship, because there's, one, so many defensive things, just let alone before you can even get on a ship and go from room to room trying to clear it without the Navy shooting you in the face, you know, in like hand-to-hand combat. You've got radar, the offensive capabilities to shoot down, you know, water or airborne targets. Ta-da. Ta-freaking-da. So that's where we're at, bud. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, done in 35 minutes. We stole, if this was capture the flag, we stole another country's president in 35 minutes with minimal casualties. So there's that. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. You know, people say DNN skit. I was going to do a Mahmoud's military menagerie on Minnesota, and I still will. But now I can do another Mahmoud's military menagerie on Venezuela. Are you looking for a nice cheap place of land that has chock full of oil? Let me show you this place in the South America. Forget about jihadis and the bombs. You can sing in the palm trees and the nice breeze of a Caribbean coastline. I wish I wrote that down. Seems like Venezuelans want this too. I'm seeing civil unrest in Iran as well. What are your thoughts? Is there a geopolitical shift, and what does it mean for the average American? So this is why I kind of support the Trump administration in its no new wars, but still using strategic offensive capabilities in different countries, you know, like Iran. There's boots on ground in Iran. I don't want that war. Nation building isn't a thing that we need to do anymore. If the people want to build their nation, they can do it. Now, we can help them with, like, you know, getting rid of your president that's been affecting our country and arresting him on drug charges because he's basically a dual figurehead as president and cartel leader. And you already have a government set up. It was already working in the past. Now you have a bunch of people that seems like the majority of the population, like the overwhelming majority voting population, voted in, but couldn't get in because of the dirty politics of your dictator. That's different than a land war in Iraq. I mean, let's be honest, right? We're not nation building. All we're doing is we're letting the people that were already voted in power but restricted because of the corrupt government in to actually affect the changes that their people want, that their people voted on already, right? That's different than doing a regime change in another hemisphere as well, right? We could put a ship from what? Texas, Florida, San Diego down to Venezuela in like the matter of a day or two. You know, flights in 4 hours. You know, that's not, the logistics is so much easier when it's in your own hemisphere. You know, oh, you're only like 16,000 miles or 1,600 miles away. Sweet. We'll see you in 4 hours. You know what I mean? I'm not anticipating the what the Venezuelan government's going to do and the people of Venezuela and how positive they take this change. Because, like I said, if Maduro is a dictator, if all of the political unrest and the silencing and arresting of political opponents is 100% true or even 80% true, right? Then that country's going to come up. The people that want to change are going to enact that change. And you're going to see a spike in growth in all sorts of forms, you know, economic, cultural, education, in Venezuela fairly quickly. Probably over the next like 2-3 years, you'll see like massive changes in people wanting to go there and investment, right? If that was a lie, if we got Iraqed again, you know, WMDs, if we got WMD'd, you know, again, then at least we didn't spend manpower there, and we'll know within like the next like 5 years as it goes like downhill fast. There's going to be growing pains. That's why I'm saying like 2-3 years before we see like the super growth, like consistent, not a lot of up and down. You know, the sailors on whatever ship he's on are going to have some crazy stories to tell about. Yeah, man, that guy. Yeah, man, we had a president in a cell and he wouldn't stop crying. Dude, where are my Puerto Rican and my Filipino, or well, Filipinos speak Tagalog. They don't speak Spanish. Where's my Puerto Rican sailors at? I would be in there talking so much shit to a president that we just arrested because he's a crim. Book him. Where's the posturing? There was a video I saw. Maduro saying like, I'm ready to fight the United States. Maduro warns U.S. against a crazy war. Well, I mean, you say that, but don't talk about it, be about it, homie. Just, oh, imagine the Reddit bots burning down Reddit right now. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Remember Baghdad Bob? There are no Americans near Baghdad as American tanks roll past in the background. Well, that was an edited funny video, but it was basically like that, yeah. Now Harris can run for president in Venezuela. She'll claim she's from there too. Oh my gosh. All right, before Trump comes on, I'm gonna go grab a beverage and be right back. Let me turn up the music a little bit. You can all spam chair. You're back. Is he on yet? All right, we're back. All right. Do. We need Jamshid, the RPG god. Truly, he would do well in Venezuela. Most Venezuelans I know. See, this is what I'd like to know. I'd like to know people that are Venezuelan family members or have, you know, in Venezuela or have, you know, lived there previously and come back home. You know, people with real life experiences to hit up in the chat and let me know. This guy says most Venezuelans I know have either booked tickets to visit and celebrate or planning to move back. I'm so happy they can have a home again. That's awesome. Good for them. I'm all about people coming to America and saying, hey, man, I left this land that was, you know, wrecked by shitty leadership. I'm here to make a better life. And then the second that their country, you know, they get a taste of America and how great it can be, and then they go back to their country when it's, you know, when that change happens, so then they can make their country better again. I'm all about exporting the freedoms of America via the individuals that, you know, visited and were inspired by what we have here across the world. The U.S. military just served Maduro a no-knock warrant. Now gas is going to be cheaper? Not for a little bit. Not for a little bit. But I will tell you this. Trump did say that, hey, we are going to, you know, after this change, we are going to invest heavily in Venezuelan oil, which is awesome because that means fuck Iran. AC, how nervous do you think other third world despots are right now? I hope Xi Jinping has nightmares of being held accountable for CCP's crimes. Well, I tell you what, them doing it on Hugo Chavez's, on the anniversary of us doing this to Hugo Chavez, I'm pretty sure it's Hugo Chavez that we did this to, or was it Noriega? Either way, in the 70s or 80s when we threw it over. Who was it? Help me out, chat. Was it Noriega or was it Hugo Chavez that we overthrew his shit? I'm pretty sure it's Chavez. Nobody? Just one guy spamming Trump and play buttons all the time? Oh, whatever. So we did do it on the anniversary of us taking over Chavez or Noriega. I forget which one it was. But I do find it funny how a week ago Xi Jinping was saying, hey, we're going to unify Taiwan and China. In 2026. And I'm like, well, not so fast, buddy. We took over a country in 35 minutes. Well, we didn't take it over, but I mean, I tell you what, if we had a ground force, if we can abduct your fucking president in 35 minutes, yeah, that's gonna put a lot of people on the nerve. Ooh, oh, they did what? They knew China's military sucks. Yeah, they got a bunch of people, but they're poorly trained. They don't have good equipment. Half of them, I don't think more than half of them don't even have body armor. Oh my God, how do I get rid of all the people spamming bullshit in my chat? Just go jump off a cliff, losers. Do. Not often you get, hey, what's up, Blitz? From out east. That's all right, bud. Yeah, exactly. You know who isn't getting Veni oil now? China and Russia. Dude, I got my t-shirt guys making a new shirt. And I was like, hey, man, I really want to have privateers, because that's going to be the video coming up this weekend, is how a senator suggested that we have privateers back in the Caribbean, which is basically federally sanctioned pirates, private citizens that can take over terrorist boats, or like boats to of a country that's non-friendly to the United States, which is all of these drug boats that's going on in the Caribbean. And I got a new shirt that's going to come out. It's going to have a whole bunch of guys with like 50 cals and dual 30 cals on like a fishing boat. It's just getting ready to swarm. So I'm very excited about that. It was Noriega on January 3rd. Okay. Thanks, Carrie. I appreciate you. I'm trying to read the normal chat, but it's just getting spammed with Israel flags and Russian flags and Chinese retards. Heard that Maduro's political opponents are saying he struck a deal to avoid being cooed. I think it's dumb. Interested to hear your thoughts. I mean, how do you strike a deal with somebody that imprisons political opponents? I mean, he's going to go back on his word. It's like making a deal with the lion saying, you know, don't eat my lamb. What well, he's going to ignore it and then do what he wants to do eventually. So I don't know. I feel like those are... I'm not saying that every disagreement with a country needs to be done with an airstrike or is it the 160th SOAR? 160th Special Operations Air Regiment? Yeah, 160th, right? And, you know, Delta Force. I'm not saying that everything needs to be kinetic, but 25 years of this guy and him denying elections and then, you know, building up his own economy and then creating a shadow government with, you know, being the head of the cartel, or at least a significant power figure with the cartels. I would assume head, because as the president, you're in charge of everything in the country, and then as the head of the cartel, you can take those two powers together. I mean, Tren de Aragua was already working as like a secret police or Gestapo for Maduro, doing extrajudicial killings outside of his country, you know, against other political opponents and such. So I really don't take that. Well, he promised, you know, we worked on a promise with the man who's definitely not followed through with his word. It doesn't make sense to me. So you're saying we kidnapped a leader of a foreign country in less time than it takes for me to get to work. God bless America. Yes. I wonder if the Venezuelan VP cut a deal with the CIA to out Maduro and gain power to save her own skin. Likely. Yeah, likely. Venezuela, the next U.S. territory. As much as I would like expansion, especially in the Caribbean, you know, northern South America, beautiful country. I think that... Oh my God, they got a photo of him up! Is that actually him with the DEA in his fucking shirt? Are you guys seeing this? There we go. There is a delay. Dude. That's fucking sick. The guy supported Tren de Aragua, and here he is on a ship with some agua. Enjoying that agua. What type of message does it send in the world, or shouldn't he be brought to the UN? So that's an interesting point. Like, he's not brought up on war crimes right now, right? And the UN is a fucking joke. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't respect the UN. Other than like a large charity organization that's poorly run, and I'm going to say a little too corrupt now. Like, there was always a little bit of corruption in it, but now there's like every country in it, and the UN representative of Somalia literally is one of the owners of a daycare that received millions of dollars in Minnesota. No, that's not a joke. That's real. I don't respect it. Like I said, I just see it as kind of a corrupt charity now. And either way, we wouldn't bring Maduro to the UN. The Maduro was wanted by the United States as a criminal, right? Like I said earlier on in the stream, and if you haven't heard it, I'll tell it to you now. He was arrested because of his basically a RICO, where he's the just something in criminal organization. What does RICO stand for? Oh, racketeering, something criminal organization. Either way, he was arrested as the head of a criminal organization that was and within those charges, it was, illegal firearms possession and manufacturing, drug trafficking and possession, dangerous instruments, which I think it's dangerous instruments is in the state of New York, because it was a federal indictment or warrant put out in New York Southern District, which is like Long Island, Southern New York City. So the message that it sends to the world is if you continue to poison us, and our people, then we're going to step on your fucking throat, which is fine. Stop shipping fentanyl up here. China, Mexico. Hey, see, you remember that Operator Sam video you made on the Venezuela soldiers trying to scare Marines? You think I should do a follow-up video, huh? Maybe. It wouldn't be a bad idea, would it? Who do you think we're going to put in power in Venezuela? I think the vice president of Venezuela. So here's the thing, right? We can't put somebody in power. The Venezuelan government needs to put somebody in power. If we put in a figurehead, it's got to be somebody that Venezuela voted for, which I think should have been the oppositional candidate in the election in 2024. I believe the election was 2024 on Wikipedia that I looked up. Right, let's go back. Beep, boop. Back. Yeah. So Edmundo Gonzalez, the independent. I think we should put him in charge. But I don't know what the process is going to be right now. I mean, right now Trump is going to say some things that's going to tell the people of Venezuela what our plan is, and the government of Venezuela what they need to do so that we don't keep ripping their political figures out of their beds in the middle of the night. Which is why this is so interesting, right? Which is why I'm very excited to see what the president says, and then kind of pick it apart a little bit as to the potential of the offshoots of what will happen from him giving out his point of view and strategy. All the spider webs that happen whenever a political figure says something or does something. Southern Perspective says, I've got a few friends in Venezuela. You don't know how happy they are right now. Half of South America is happy. I think he's trying to say have, like half. You have. About this best picture ever, a lot of Venezuelans in the U.S. and the rest of the continent might start returning. I hope they do. Because if you had the balls to leave your country and start anew, then I want you to go back there and rebuild it, because you are going to care. Thank you, Bryce. RICO stands for Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization. When's the president going on, Bryce? I need to know. It's supposed to be 11. He's making us wait. He's making us coom. It's my inside man. Not really. I remember the Nobel Peace Prize winner contributed her medal to Trump to help get democracy back to Venezuela. She knew the art of the deal. Interesting. Jack Mandeville, fuck you. I love Jack. If Maduro was smart, he would have hired Saddam's former body doubles. Well, He's, oh, what's going on? What's going on now? What are they showing in Venezuela? Oh, let's go to this. What's Fox News saying?
That many of them were supporters of Maduro. However, what we've heard now is that a lot of those people who were there were just essentially trying to figure out what was going on. They heard that the situation, had unfolded, but weren't sure on the details. So that's why they gathered in the streets so they could speak to people. Some of them were holding signs, though, in support of Maduro. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat, saying Trump promised no, quote, new stupid wars, yet he's starting one with Venezuela without congressional approval. People can't afford groceries and millions are losing health care, but this is where his focus is. This is unconstitutional and not what the American people asked for, end quote.
It is constitutional. It goes after Article 10. I forget what it was specifically. So Jasmine Crockett is an idiot. Well, actually, she's a brilliant idiot in my opinion. She's very intelligent, but she plays a role of an idiot and as a loudspeaker in order to get views and attention, which then gives her more power because then more people see who she is. But that's a talking point that I'm seeing being echoed on the opposition right now to just Trump in general. Right? Anybody that is anti-Trump will take anything that he does and make it bad. And right now they're saying that this is a war. No, it's a conflict. It's an arrest of a criminal in a different country. We did it with Noriega. We've made... Well, yeah, I'll just give you that. We did it with Noriega. So, this is not something new that the president has executive powers over. And as long as this isn't a elongated, boots-on-ground conflict, he doesn't need Congress's approval. Right? Could you imagine if there was, what was it? Captain Phillips, right? You remember when Captain Phillips, an American citizen, was abducted by the Somali pirates and held on a little rescue ship, and then SEALs dropped in, went on to a naval ship that was next to it, and then shot all three of them in the face at the same time. So, do you think that you needed Congress to approve that? No. You don't. The commander-in-chief can make an executive order and decision in order to make a kinetic strike on something. That's the way that it's been for forever. You think Obama... I didn't see you bitching about Obama or Biden when they were doing that shit. Just because... people think that because there's, people on the ground snatching somebody, that it's somehow a different... that a different branch of government has to take over as opposed to a drone strike. I don't know. And if I said that really stupid, that's on me. What I'm trying to say is there is no difference than a drone strike and a kinetic operation singular, to pick up or put down a threat to the United States or a wanted criminal, right? Both are a threat to the United States, wanted criminal. Airstrike and kinetic operation with boots on ground. Both totally allowed by the president. And what kills me is there's been 2 or 3 senators that have said the same thing already. There's going to be more. It's going to be everybody's I don't think I have no brain talking point. Because they're going to say, we've got no health care, and we've got none of this, and we've got none of that. Listen, he's protecting. Let's just go about this from the opposite side, right? If you're going to say all the negatives about it, the positives would be that this person's been wanted by the FBI for some time. He's been creating instability in the United States via drug trafficking for a long time and instability in Southern America. The president has the right to do kinetic strikes against threats against the United States. And this wasn't so much a kinetic strike as it was, well, it was a kinetic strike, but this wasn't so much an assassination or the intent to kill the target as it was an arrest. And honestly, if you're really upset about American tax dollars going to waste, I can't wait to see what you say about Minnesota and Ohio. Millions and millions of dollars of people coming to the United States, billions, and they're stealing taxpayer monies because they know America's the place of wealth and no not retribution. Or criminals aren't held responsible for some of their actions. Well, guess again. Noriega's not the same. Ooh, I like this. Let's talk about this. Noriega's not the same as Maduro. The U.S. was already involved in a full-scale war in that conflict, same with Saddam. Here, Trump sees Maduro without congressional approval. Well, you can, yes, but you don't need congressional approval in order to seize a terrorist. Unpause the Steam. What are you talking about? It's playing.
Showing the praise for this, and Democrats continue.
How dare I? No, what are you doing? Oh, shit!
We appreciate you being here.
I'm going to turn down the music.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II.
God, he sounds tired. He's up all night.
It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones, like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer, all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have.
What does
it
that
was
mean?
Dark, and it was deadly.
Did you blow up one of their stations, or did you?
But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, it's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, like Iran, maybe like never before.
Yeah, Iran.
These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in a ready, what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see.
Tell us what you saw, Don. Tell us what you saw.
Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight.
That no aircraft was
But think
lost.
of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest. have been pumping and what could have taken place.
There we go.
We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually.
Oh, Jesus.
This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, the many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship they'll be heading to, ultimately, New York. And then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida.
Okay, so he's not been arraigned yet.
But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over in particular the United States, Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide. And he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they called police. They were brutal. But they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete, and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat, but we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore.
I'd like to know
the restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're going. They're walking their daughters. They're walking their children, their wives. They walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. It's been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana. And we have done that. And it was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing, and we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help.
Yeah.
We also helped, as you know, in Chicago, and crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster, but it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there. When they need us, we'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on.
We know more about Venezuela, big guy.
Head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit.
Still no new construction on the Palisades.
But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years, I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst, they say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungari, what happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States to steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons, a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher.
I did miss the part where they said they're going to
mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum.
He did state
but
that
we
they're
got
gonna
them
use the
both.
money
They sent from their
the oil
mental
field stuff to
institutions. They
assist
sent
in
from their
payments
jails,
and
prisons.
give that money back
They
to
were
the,
drug
to
dealers.
the,
They
Venezuelan
were drug
people.
kingpins. They sent everybody
That'll be
bad
used
into
to,
the United
prop up
States.
the Venezuelan government.
But no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and stole American oil,
White guy thing to do.
American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, and we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night.
Did they?
Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries.
Monroe Doctrine.
And not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines.
That's like I know what I'm talking about.
The Monroe Doctrine is a big deal.
Big deal.
But we've superseded it by a lot. By a real lot. They now call it the Donroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen.
I want to know
so
more
just in
about
concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way.
But he was talking about
in our home region
by foreign governments to Venezuela.
And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever
still doing their job
to defend America.
So you're incorrect there.
But I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just, fair, even to their people. The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation this morning. It's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us.
About the weaponry that was
it didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's a fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words.
All right,
Thank
Pete.
you very much.
What's going on, Pete?
President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief
Sounds like crack
the world
house of the
respects
government can put Maduro in it.
and the American people deserve.
I will.
And as the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans,
looks
our
like he's
country
wearing,
has to offer.
160th sword pin.
American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men. And I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president
I will agree
has
with
ever
that.
shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around, and he found out.
Jesus.
President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country.
Motivate the base.
Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us.
I don't understand.
And deadly serious about reestablishing American
deterrence
deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our chairman, Chairman Raisin Kane, to give a few more details about the operation. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you.
All right, here we go.
Mr.
We're going to get into the tactical aspect
and good
of this.
morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal. An operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake.
Not going to lie.
What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the
could
details
do it, but there'd be a lot more
without
dead.
compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again.
Oh, nationalized
Our interagency work began months ago and built on
about.
decades
Maduro
of experience of
Exxon's
integrating
facilities.
complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force.
Oh,
with
tell me the
soldiers,
components.
Sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists, and we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional.
All right, well, tell us some of the things. Tell us some of the things.
This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years. Many missions over these last many years.
Let's talk about the mission.
This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do.
Explain the audacity.
It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise, it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and
160
failure
aircraft
is
used.
never an
Interesting.
option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation.
All right.
After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets. In early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise.
So a Friday
and
night?
minimize the harm to the indicted personnel, so as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action.
Yeah, it would have been better for
Last night, the weather broke
Thick
just
Latina.
enough, clearing a path
Operation
that
Torta.
only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings. But when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46
Low cloud
p.m.
ceiling.
Eastern
Interesting.
Time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they
That's
approached
low.
Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency
30 yards
to create
over
a
the
pathway.
water. That is low.
Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard.
God
the
dang,
force
even the
included
Guards involved in it.
F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely
B-1s.
piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems
Air
in
defense systems
Venezuela,
first.
employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component was, and always will be
Support of
to
ground troops.
protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise.
That's fantastic.
As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons.
That's like somebody raiding
On arrival
Mar-a-Lago
into the target
and getting
area, the
Trump
helicopters
out. Are
came
you
under
serious?
fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the president said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home.
That's awesome.
And that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission.
That's incredible.
As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life.
So the FBI team
After
is there.
securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force.
I wonder
while
how many
fighter
Maduro's
aircraft
bodyguards
and
got
remotely piloted
perked.
aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela.
It's interesting that they're saying
The force
self-defense 'cause they're going
successfully
after a criminal.
exfiltrated and
You know what I mean?
returned to their afloat launch bases,
I think that's
and
an
the force
intentional
was
word
over the
being
water
used,
at
self-defense.
3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board.
Shit, what time
And
is it?
both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a
Okay.
powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong.
Like it. Good saying.
Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes,
He's a younger
we can
four-star.
deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too
How many
difficult
bodyguards
for these
dipped?
incredible
Very good
professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Somebody in the chat said,
Well,
a
I
lot
don't
of
have
news
much to
channels
add to
were
what you've heard
reporting,
now, other than the following points.
that
Nicolas
no
Maduro was
confirmation of
indicted
who's behind this
in
attack.
2020
That's
in the
because we
United
had
States.
such a good element
He is
of
not the
surprise.
legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And
Make sure.
yeah, exactly. But
Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the
I'm not
following.
gonna lie, I
You have
like
a guy,
Marco Rubio as
like many
Secretary
people
of
around the
State.
world
I
that
really
like to play
do.
games. You have a guy who decides he's
Trump
going to
did it
invite Iran
intentionally,
into his
too.
country, is going to, do
Because we're
the
gonna have a lot
confiscation
of
of American
incidents that
oil
happen
companies,
in,
is going to flood our country with gang members,
whatchamacallit,
is
in
going
South
to
America.
take Americans prisoner and try to hold
And
them for
obviously Rubio
hostage and trade
speaks
them like he
Spanish,
was able to do with the
fluent.
Biden administration.
I think
Basically likes to play
I know he's
games all this
Hispanic.
time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it.
No shit.
I can tell you, I've watched this process
The
now
rest
for
of the
14,
world's
15 years,
figuring
been
that
around
out
it.
right
Everybody
now.
talks, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this, we're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. 'Cause this is the way it's going to play out, and I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, you know, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody.
4 years.
We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Is that a message for Cuba, Mr. President?
Is that a message for Cuba?
Mr. President.
That's interesting, right? Cuba hasn't really been a threat, right? They just kind of been sitting there.
The U.S. is going to run Venezuela. So who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies
who yet, which
directly.
is smart, because that's still probably
they will
in the works.
Be reimbursed for what
they had
they're
to wait
doing,
to see that
but,
Maduro was
it's
going to be gone
paid.
before he said some names.
And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be.
soon.
As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
It's going to be interesting watching Exxon take back some of its oil refineries.
The U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, you know, they always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there. And they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Can you explain the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
Yes, it's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
That would run Venezuela.
Well, it's largely going to be for a period of time the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, you know, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others. We have fantastic people, including people in the military.
Obviously,
so we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track. Make a lot of money for the people.
We're not going to get a lot of
give people a
specifics on
great way
names
of
right
life,
now.
and
Those are
also
going to come out over the next
reimbursement
week or so.
for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
It's going to be people that like Rubio's like warmed up to.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview, and then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship going?
I understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He's just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to
yeah, because she doesn't want to get abducted either.
Again. Very simple.
Mr. President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, you said he's got to watch his ass. And today he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is about that.
Well, he has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
This is how the war on drugs should have always been.
Sure. We call members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that,
on, like,
Congress has a tendency to leak.
Congress,
this would not be good.
That are going to be aware
if
of
they
this.
leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say,
be surprised
they knew we
if
were
they didn't
coming
have
at some point. You know,
some of the
a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were
law
coming.
enforcement,
we went
or especially military boards.
Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
They weren't known about it. They weren't notified about it.
You were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. You know what a safe place is, all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition.
Dang.
You know, people were wondering, did we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say, on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it. Go ahead, finish.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact whereabouts?
Well, eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards. Did that weigh on your decision?
Well, that's why we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So, with me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
President, can you? How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. Can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people.
The next
doing
4
just
months,
that.
you're going to see a lot of transition
the infrastructure
to power,
is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country. Yeah.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when it comes to the oil and the drugs?
In terms of China and Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to give it to them. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that...
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of Venezuela?
That you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace, and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country, and they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly when you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten.
He does love himself.
But if we had to go through another year of that, we wouldn't have. We would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms. I used to say,
he's done in the past.
If they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids, and that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military troops to provide?
Team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro, and right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have
gracious
a choice.
Knowing that she's going to get picked up tomorrow if she doesn't play ball.
We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, you know, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world going and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States, and frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back, yeah.
In the country, and were any of the detained Americans?
Well, right now they're very protected because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
Are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are.
We know who the worst of them are.
And,
but even when it came to
they're
like
acting much differently now than they
World
would
War
have
II,
acted 2
you still
days
had to
ago.
have people that sucked that fought against you remain in power
Why
because
is running a country in South America America first?
it's hard to find people that already know the ins and outs of a country. So yeah, there's going to be Maduro regime people that are still there, but there's also going to be a lot more turnover.
We have tremendous energy in that country.
And then eventually down the line they'll be replaced.
We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world, and we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba's an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years, and I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. Suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, they basically, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba that tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So,
I didn't know about that.
If I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
Mr. President.
The answer is yes. Yes.
What about privateers? I want to know about the
of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President.
Do you have any hesitations about Machado?
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the leader.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years, in the
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial, so it's not going to cost us anything. We will. Well, we want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend.
And if you don't know what he's talking about, we talked about it earlier, how
it's going to be
the Venezuelan government took over Exxon.
This is a very big evening that took place last night.
Oil
we have to be
manufacturing
surrounded by safe, secure
took them in as
countries.
like a property
and we
of the
also
state.
have to have energy, very important.
And then
we have to have energy that's real energy,
poorly.
not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look. It was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year is going to be a great thing. And the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
So he's saying a year. There's one timeline. He says basically the economy, or at least oil production in Venezuela over the course of the next year is going to explode.
Well, I don't want to get into the conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
You said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted
Which
of
I
many
disagree
drug
with.
trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are
Yeah, not a fan of him pardoning.
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
I'd like to know more about that. I don't have the information that he has, and I'm not aware of
do
the
you
information
envision the
he's
U.S.
talking about.
military having
But
a presence in
on
Venezuela?
face value, I stood against
Well,
it.
no, we're going to
but I
have
didn't
presence
know much
in
more than other than he
Venezuela
was-
as it pertains to
Hold on.
oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in.
Yeah, we're going to get paid.
So
I don't
you may
understand why
need
people don't
something,
get
not
that.
very much.
Hey, yeah, we're
But
going
no, we're gonna be
to help your
taking out a
country out, but it's going to
tremendous
cost us
amount of
time
wealth
and
out of the
money,
ground,
and time
and
is
that wealth
money.
is going
So
to the people of
you got a
Venezuela
shit ton of oil. We're going to take
people
some of
from
that,
outside
and that'll
of
be
Venezuela that
compensation.
used to
And
be
then,
in
by the way, your
Venezuela.
country's
And
rid
it
of a
goes
criminal,
also to
and
the United States of
your country
America
can be
in the
run
form of
no longer
reimbursement
with
for the
BS
damages caused
elections.
us
I
by
think
that
that's
country.
okay.
So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you.
It
Do
was
you
like the
have one?
Lend-Lease
Yes, please.
program in World War
You were so
II.
nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr.
Unless it's a
President.
bad question, in
It's
which
about
case I'll
Putin.
go one word. It's about who?
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin. Well, that's
Okay.
always nice
You had
to
a
talk
phone.
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him on Monday. Did he talk at all?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then-
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
Was that
I thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not. And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about.
We just took out a president of another country and arrested him. And you're like, well, I want to know about these other things real quick, though. No, dude, this is the news right now. This is the thing that he made a press conference for. Could you not think of another question that hasn't been asked yet about this incident? No, we got to ask about something fucking else. Obnoxious. We're here for a singular topic. It's a press conference about that topic. Think about questions for that freaking topic.
A much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden.
Yeah, 80 IQ question, right? Are you mad at Putin right now? Mess. What a fucking dumb
I will say this,
reporter.
I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you.
Yes, Mr. President, are you mad at somebody else right now? Question. Are you mad at another person? Shut the fuck up.
And we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much.
God, that's the question. It's the last question you ask. Are you upset with another word? Are you mad at him? Like he's your fucking girlfriend? Are you stupid? You stuck on stupid reporter.
President Trump, along with
God, now I'm irritated. That whole thing could have been so. It ended like Stranger Things. It ended with just a fucking fart, just a fat fart in the air. What a dumb question. Could have talked about anything else. You could have asked questions for the Air Force 4-star general that was there that told you about the actual operation. You could have asked him about specifics from that operation. But instead, reporter, you decided to ask President Trump, oh, hey, are you mad at your best friend Putin right now? You know, that's what the left's going to say. You're his best friend. Oh, you mad about your best friend? And you know what the right's going to say? Like, oh, you're mad about the guy that we like, kind of, but not. And the independent's going to go, I don't give a shit. And the libertarian's going to go, well, you know, the gays need to have guns to protect their marijuana farms. This is fucking stupid. Sorry. I'm not sorry. Dumb. Ruined the whole thing. That irritated me. You had a 4-star general there that you could have asked about the actual operation, who would have told you tactically, right, the actual tactics used, the individuals used potentially in a little bit more greater detail, what they met, how they accessed. They didn't even ask, oh my God. How did you access President Maduro's, what do they call it? The building that he was in, his structure, fortified structure, or vacation home, whatever it was. How did you access it? Like, oh, by helicopters. We had Delta go in, helicopters, fast rope down, or just land, get out. How many security people were engaged? Did the American forces have to engage? What's the estimate of individuals that were shot and killed on President Maduro's front lawn? You know, how many of his security guards? Did security run? Did they stay? Did they fight? Anything like that. Like, and which would have been just like a really good psychological operations kind of question too, like a psychological warfare operation. Like, did President Maduro's security run or stay and fight? And if the response, likely, I feel like I can already say it, the 4-star general likely would have said, well, most of them ran, 1 or 2 fought, but they were quickly dealt with and neutralized, as in dead. But once the helicopters landed and they saw dudes in black jump out speaking Spanish, and if it wasn't Spanish, it was the quiet of 300 blackout rounds going through a suppressor, then yeah, everybody fucking bolted, and then he was ours. And he was alone when he got to the safe. And he couldn't close it because he's too fat and weak. We could have found out so much more, but it just ended on shit. It ended on absolute garbage. Did Trump get Israel's permission for the strike? What are you fucking talking about? Did I throw away the hanging light fixtures from this old crack house? Yeah, I think so, dude. I'm not using the crack house. Don't worry. Crack house is not right now. All right. Let's ask some questions, all right? Let's get into this. Any chance that the boys could interview somebody high up about this? I hope so. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think me and the kind of consensual guys are gonna line up a an emergency kind of consensual episode and kind of break down some of the things that we've all learned about as I hit puberty at 40 years old that we learned about today from the press conference and some of the additional information that's coming out. I think eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later, we're going to get people that were inside that compound, or people that decided to break into the compound, or old security that has access that went back after the raid, and they're going to record kind of like the aftermath of what happened. I'm almost expecting somebody to get a cell phone recording of the aftermath of the incident, the raid in Venezuela at the compound that Maduro was in. Glad you enjoyed the breakdown, Ochi. Any estimates on civilian casualties? All right, so, I mean, the U.S., we did it at 1 in the morning on a Friday, so you know that no matter what it is, it's down to a skeleton crew. I'll say, because they had to take out certain strategic locations that were electric powered, right, because they said that most of the lights were off. So either they struck some sort of large electrical facility, which means that there are probably going to be a dozen potential civilian deaths there, and then a couple radar facilities, but that's going to be military individuals, right? So if we're going to say civilian deaths as opposed to military or security for Maduro, I want to say a dozen. I think there's potential for a dozen, but I don't know where all the strikes were yet. I'm only just like, I'm really just pulling that number out of my ass. I don't know if the electrical facilities were manned or by how many people, or if it was an electric facility that was struck in order to kill the electricity, or if they just were able to, you know, detonate a couple things and just destroy equipment with people on the ground. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to an operation like this, you're going to have sympathizers that... You're going to have a lot of spider webs out, right? You're going to have, like, each finger is going to be, you know, the infill team, aviation, people on the ground that are there from the military, people on the ground that are supporters of our military, that are locals, individuals that are, you know, that are on the ground that are supplied with firearms or explosive devices to, you know, like by the CIA, because the CIA was a part of that. So you're going to have, you know, spies over there that are planting bombs to potentially take out some of the electrical facilities. But also that could have been some of the helicopters attacking buildings that we've seen in social media already being posted. Less drugs, more oil. To quote Kronk, oh yeah, it's all coming together. For the electrical, he was talking about cyber attacks. Interesting. Which is, honestly, that's one of the things that we are weak on, is our cybersecurity around electrical infrastructure. MSM hates the U.S. Why would they want to make us look good? I don't know what that was referring to. It's a general statement. Okay. Are you paying attention, Canada? Look at you, Canada. I do. I tell you what, I love synth music as background music. Oh. Sarcastically asked about the crack house. Oh, you're doing a whatchamacallit, Jason. A meta. You're doing a meta joke where you decided to recreate the dumb question that was off topic. Good for you. You got me, buddy. You got me. I played into your hand. Red, great. Everybody give Red a fucking thumbs up. Good job, Red. Can we just pause to think about the logistics of that many aircraft from that many organizations and places converging on one place for the operation? 160 combined aircraft. F-35s, F-15s, B-1s, drones. I'm not sure if he said that was including attack helicopters and UH-60s, which Chinooks, or if they were the Seahawks, which is the Marines version of the Chinooks. Yeah. I mean, incredible. Absolutely incredible. America is just showing Russia how to do a special military operation. You know what? If Russia was fucking capable at all of pulling their head out of their ass and they decided to pull up on Zelensky as like that was the start, that was the kickoff, was to raid Kiev and just take over the government there. Or at least make him leave the capital. You know, yeah, that could have been something, but they failed. They dropped their guys off like 50 miles north of the city and they fought their way down and they got pushed back and then were captured and killed. I think they actually had to send people down from Belarus down south in order to get them. But that's yeah, we're getting a little off topic there. Also, what an insane from Macho Man's left bicep. Oh yeah. Oh my god, Macho Man's left bicep. Every time you send a super chat, I will literally go, oh yeah. Oh, I got a string there. It's not my arm. It is an actual string. Oh, I gotta burn that off. By the way, Drop Out Boy shirts. You're welcome to go check out the link below and check out my Drop Out Boy shirts. What an insane message to send to the world that not only will we be able to abduct you from your own country faster than you can order a pizza, but your own citizens are going to celebrate it. I mean, fuck the celebration of it. We could just go into your bedroom, wherever you are, and take you out. What did I make of the CCP delegation being near? Not everything's a message, bud. You know what I mean? Not everything's a message. Sometimes, like Rubio said, like they were sitting there waiting for the right days. And when you look at a lot of different special operations incidents, attacks, missions, etc., one of the major things is how do we make sure helicopters can get in? Because they're so maneuverable, right? So when it came to the Iran hostage, it was like the first special operations rescue mission ever, and it was Iran, and it was to get the Iranian hostages, and they were all in a like an old soccer field. They fucked it up horribly because they went into a sandstorm. So since then, which was like one of the biggest failures of a special operations incident, to include going into the future where there were several other failures like Mogadishu. Weather plays a massive factor in planning out the days of an attack. Like D-Day was pushed like a week because they were waiting for good weather. That's the same thing that happens with, you know, these larger missions. You have to wait for good weather. And like Rubio said, yeah, we waited for good weather, and you know, we had a day that we wanted to go, but we had to just like wait for it because we had to wait for the weather. And even then, they were talking about low cloud covering, which isn't something that, you know, is a bad thing necessarily, but it affects Helicopter's different. Helicopters are basically a fan that beats the air into submission and then lifts you up. There's no autopilot. You're constantly moving the sticks and moving stuff around so you don't crash. I should know. I tried to be a pilot and took a couple tests, and then, that didn't work out for me. So I've got a little bit of an education on rotary wing aircraft under my belt. Most of it's forgotten. Pull up the photo Maduro just released. The one with him drinking water? Be more specific. Here's my donation to join Brandon Herrera for Congress in the Buffalo area. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think I'll ever get voted. I mean, maybe. I got to tell some Democrats are stupid and yell at the Republican Party in Erie County because they're a bunch of pansies. As a Canadian, we need this amount of freedom. We need this amount of freedom in the States. God, you were so close to a real sentence. Yes, helicopters actively don't want to be in the air. Operation Eagle Claw, was that the one that was the failed Iranian rescue? Yeah, Operation Eagle Claw was the Iran hostage crisis. Yeah, that was the one where they literally, this is how stupid people are. They took the radios out of the aircraft because they wanted them to make weight. You're like, so you don't want any of them to talk to one another? The people going in on a secret mission that are flying through sandstorms? Sounds fucking stupid, and it was. The first thing they got rid of was comms. Dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Now, I can say that that's dumb now because, the generations that have come before me and taught me or teach me that communication is the most important thing. And then, whatchamacallit, then practice. The training of your skills, but like communication is, you lose communication, you're screwed. What are the chances Maduro was in on it to appease Trump and keep his life? I think that's retarded. I think he would have just turned himself in and not made his country look stupid. Like his defense, his military, his intelligence, everybody that had anything to do with Venezuela looked stupid at how fast we did this. No. Why no DNN? Are you mad at Donut? Shut up. DNN's my baby. I mean, it started off as a joke, but that's kind of my baby. Sometimes it's just easier to talk and then make a whole skit. Compare this to the Chads at the heavy water strike. Is that the one in the Netherlands where like a couple Norwegian guys like overtook the heavy water station from the Nazis? That's different. Guys, we're getting off topic here. I appreciate the military history. In fact, your knowledge seems to be vast for, chat's knowledge on military stuff today is very interesting. And I appreciate it. But we're here to talk about Maduro. See if there's more. Oh, let's look at this. What is this? What is the news read? Bam. What do you say, Nicholas?
Venga por mí. Aquí no esperan Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde.
I just got three things to say. God bless our
UH-60.
God bless America.
UH-60. Or UH-60 is a Black Hawk. Those were here's the UH-60s. So there's a Black Hawk. There's 5 Black Hawks. There were 2.
I just got three things to say.
Black Hawk.
God bless our troops.
Chinook. So those are 2 transports. 2 transports followed by 1, 2, 3, another 3, 4 Black Hawks. 5. Jeez, that's so many helicopters. That's so many helicopters. God, that is so. This is just like 26 seconds. Why do people record with the phone up? What? Why do people record with the phone up? Right? Why can't we just all learn as adults that it's always landscape? Record in landscape. People's TVs, computer screens, it's in landscape. You can turn your phone sideways when you want to watch something on Twitter. Record in landscape. Savages. We're dealing with savages. That's God, I love Jack Mandeville. People don't forget. Boys, did we just take over Venezuela in 3 hours? Try 30 minutes. Let's read some of the comments on there, huh? You know what? Let's the entire G1 right now. If they would just let us loose. Could you imagine Trump during GWAT? Could you imagine it? Like if he started like in the beginning, you know, like after Bush, you know, he's just like, what are we doing in Iraq? We're done here, you know, and just like pulls out of Iraq and then sends everybody into Afghanistan. And I don't know. Oh, is this the new one? Is that the photo you're talking about, guys? Is that the one you want to see? God, look at him. Is he wearing a life vest? I think he's wearing a life vest. We're like, you can't. Jeffrey Epstein can kill himself, but we can't let you fall overboard, buddy. I think that's what we should do now. Whenever there's a high, like value, high target, high political news focal point guy, we put him on a naval ship. You put him on a naval ship where there's just a fucking room and nothing to kill yourself other than slamming your head off the steel walls. And you're handcuffed and you sit there with your fucking drawstring sweatpants and you just got some poor E2 watching you. Let me tell you, there was never so much discipline in the New York State corrections program, our prisons, as when the National Guard got sent in because the COs went on strike. My buddy was one of those guys, and he fucking had his block on lock. He's like, oh, you threw shit at one of my guys. You don't get to eat today. They're like, you have to feed us. He's like, no, I don't. No, you dropped your food. Sorry. Sucks to suck. Don't throw it. You won't have any poop to poop and throw. You won't have any poop to throw if you can't poop. Then I know people are going to go like, oh my God, they need to eat every day. Don't throw poop. Don't be an animal. Don't be an animal. You want to be an animal? We'll treat you like an animal. Well, let me get back to some of these super chats, guys. Sorry that I ignored you. I love the left saying Venezuela was the independent nation that was a self-sufficient, and now that we hit them, they act like it's some jungle village to downplay the achievement. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen those posts yet where they downplay like Venezuelans, like this poor innocent country that doesn't know any better. I haven't seen any of that. Bay of Pigs failed because they didn't use Zulu time, and the fighters showed up an hour late after the bombers had been shot down by the Cubans. Ooh. Are your first Bills games tomorrow? Totally off topic, dude. Not what we're talking about today. I'll be there. I'll see you. Go to the Hammer Lot. Go get drunk. Why was he charged in the Southern District of New York instead of anywhere else in the country? You know, that's a very good question. The Southern District of New York, I feel like there's a history. All right, Chad, you're going to have to help me out here. I feel like there's a history with significant criminal acts being charged by the federal government in the Southern District of New York. I think the Southern District of New York, does that not cover some of Washington, D.C.? I'm lost. I'm lost in the sauce. That's a good question. Let's ask Grok. I should do it in a different tab. I don't need you seeing my previous search history. Ba, 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 ba. Let's see why he was charged here. That's a great question. Why specifically? I've noticed a lot of big cases get charged in the Southern District of New York, and I want to know why. I kind of want to call up a lawyer friend. Okay, because it's one of the premier U.S. federal districts for handling complex international narcotics trafficking, narcoterrorism, and narco-related cases. That's why. It maintains a dedicated terrorism and international narcotics unit, which has extensive experience prosecuting high-profile global drug conspiracies involving foreign officials targeting groups like the FARC, in this case, and the large-scale cocaine importation aimed at the United States. This unit, supported by agencies like the DEA's New York Strike Force and Special Operations Division, led the investigation into Maduro and the Cartel de las Soles. Long track record with similar cases in Latin America with drug lords. I guess because New York City is the largest city in the United States, and like the import of drugs and gangs and their ability to work with federal agencies, as you know, the city of New York, and their large caseload, I guess, just gives them better experience. Some related cases were filed in the districts like Southern Florida or D.C. The core narco-terrorism charges against Maduro and top officials was centralized in the Southern District of New York, starting with a 2020 indictment. In short, its institutional expertise and prosecutorial infrastructure made it the logical and most capable venue for such a significant politically charged international case, rather than a district like Florida, which handles many drug entry drug point cases. Interesting. So yeah, experience. There you go. Isn't it nice to learn? Isn't that why we all hang out together? So we can learn things. I enjoyed that. That was a fun moment. Oh, and the super chats came in. Oh, fuck. I was reading that aloud, and now I've got 80 super chats. They had to show Mom Downey what we do to commies. Love it. What are going to be the next steps for rebuilding their government and establishing commerce? Well, Trump said that the first thing they're going to do is work with where the money's at, and that's going to be their oil infrastructure, which makes sense. You want to sell oil? He said that they're working at like 5%, which let's say that's a drastic, under evaluation. Let's say that they're working at 20% of what they could be at, right? They'll never get to 100, but they're at 20%, a fifth of what they could actually be producing. Let's say they double that. They only get to 40%. Let's say that it's actually 10% or 15% and they triple it and get to 45%. You know what I mean? Their overall GDP is going to skyrocket, which means people are going to go there to invest, especially oil companies. So now you've got this massive flood of oil companies going there to gain, in the profits that are happening there and help build infrastructure, create jobs, which means more tax revenue. So it makes sense. Let's kick off the country with what we know will work. Get their economy booming while we figure out who can replace who in the government. As we stand up and go, you're going to work with us. We're going to assist the people. I don't give a fuck what happens in Venezuela. I don't care who runs it. Just keep their drugs out of America. Well, you kind of got to care, bud, because if you don't care who runs it, then Maduro's going to give us more drugs, right? So if you like what happened, if you don't care, then you're going to get more of Maduro. If you do care, then you're going to get less Maduro, but it's going to take up some time. Who's next? Cuba, Iran, maybe Russia? I don't know. I think we're just waiting for Cuba. Cuba's such a non-threat. I feel like they don't export shit. I feel like we're just waiting for everybody to die, like in power. Like there's no point in going over there and starting a war with a bunch of struggling, starving people. Just let the country finally go through a revolution. Did you see video of Trump put out the strike with Fortunate Son playing? No, I haven't. I love how Fortunate Son was like an anti-war song, and now everybody plays it to be like the most badass war song ever. Promoting war, going exactly against what the artist intended it to be for. Love that. Whirly birds don't fly. They vibrate so badly the ground rejects them. It's not entirely untrue. AC's search history, 6 foot tall Fuda Dami mommies? I don't know what a Fuda is. Southern District of New York has Wall Street allowing them to have jurisdiction over anything that affects financial crimes. That's not what I read. I mean, that could be an additional thing, but it's not what I just read. Go to live UA map. You can see where the strikes happened. Venezuela live UA map. If you send me to get a fucking virus, I swear to God. Okay. You know what would have been really cool? Is if Venezuela had, I think this is Colombia, right? If it had Colombia's little thing here to prevent the land bridge of the Americas. Because then you could really control what goes up to Mexico and what comes down. And then really fuck with the cartels in Mexico. If only. Talk about strategic. What does that stand for? Where's the legend for this? View satellite map? Can you do me a favor? Can you fuck off real quick? Because that looks like an ad. Oh, I'm not having it in the thing. Hold on. Where is... No, it's in the thing. There we go. No, I don't. It's an ad. Get out of here, you fucking thing. Do. All right, so there... So, what is this? What does a map mean? A new notice to emanatum issued by the U.S. Federal Aviation regarding airspace over Venezuela prohibits all flights over the entire country's territory starting at 6 a.m. All right, so that's there. Major citizens share this video from... Oh, this is great. So there's an explosion there. So this looks like an airport. Come on. There we go. All right. So that's definitely an airport because I can tell the runway. So they blew up something at the airport. Probably radar. Likely radar. Who said this? Gnome Child? Good for you. You did a great thing. You made the video better. You made the stream better. This likely happened for the oil because the Biden admin let the petrodollar deal expire with Saudi, and now they're trading with BRICS nations in their currency rather than U.S. dollars. This backs the dollar with oil again. That's a very good point, too. That's a very good point, too. Love videos. Thanks for covering it. You're welcome. I agree about the pumped up kicks thing. All right, what's this one? Hirakult. Just loading. Make me sad. Okay. So that is... What is that? Secondary explosion. Bomb being dropped. Video that won't play. Okay. This is awesome. I do enjoy this. Motorcycle. What the fuck's a motorcycle? Chavista groups take to the streets of Caracas to defend the country against new attacks. And it's a motorcycle? You're fighting with motorcycles? What's this? No. Nope. All right, so that's more. That's Bogota. All right, so Colombia is saying, hey, shit's going down, guys. It looks like the majority of this is over here, which I'm assuming is where has declared a state of... President Maduro has declared a state of emergency order implementation of all national defense contingencies. So there's another bomb up here. What's up here in La Guaria? La Guaria! Maybe... So it's like a shipyard. I wonder what would be in the shipyard. Maybe... Sort of... I don't know. Bombings at the port. It's going to load. It's not going to show anything. I wonder what they're bombing at the port. Military ships. Causing a distraction. So that they can't go... I don't know. What is this? Handcuffs? As Darmex regards Venezuela, the extent of the damage following this bombing, sites being assessed. Arrests of civilians are reported in some areas of the capital. Go free your captured political brothers. Privatization of their economy is going to bring a lot of prosperity as well as building a strong influence base for the United States. It feels like Teddy Roosevelt doctrine with some hardcore speaks often carry a big stick. I agree. Most likely they struck radar stations nearby the SAM sites. Also a top priority would be preventing any rapid response forces from reaching Maduro in time. Obviously, yeah, that. I'm still wondering about the that one waterway. What's this? Loss of internet connectivity. The fuck is this? Look at all this. What the fuck is... There's some stupid shit. This has to stop immediately actions. Oh, so these are loudspeakers are like political people making statements from the government. Bombings of Venezuela territory, capture of its presidents have crossed an unacceptable line. Yeah, don't steal from your people. Otherwise, and don't fucking drug ours. Don't poison our people. Otherwise, we'll come after you. Source inside Maduro's government providing information on location. CIA's sources within the Venezuelan government. What's this? New York Times says they're currently unsure whether Maduro is at this moment, but at least some of the people in his inner circle appear to be safe. Looks like a dude in a hood. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Handcuffs? Venezuela Maduro was captured by Delta Force, U.S. military's elite special operation forces. This is awesome. This is phenomenal. I need to bookmark this site. Live UA map. Military vehicles have been reported in areas near this place following explosions in the city capital. I mean, yeah, but we wouldn't be using vehicles. We learned our lesson from fucking Black Hawk Down. Whatchamacallit. I can't think of too many things at once. My brain fries. Where's this? Where's this? U.S. military aircraft and aircraft tankers in the Caribbean supporting airstrikes on Venezuela. Oh, so off the coast of Puerto Rico? And then I guess that's where Maduro's supposed to be. Yep, Trump posted Maduro on the USS Iwo Jima. I wonder if they put the location back on for the ships. Because ships will turn off their locations, and so did all of the Air Force aircraft when the incident went down. I remember seeing a post talking about all military aircraft. They turned off their transponders, and like in a moment, there was just like whoop. Like in 1 second, there's hundreds of military aircraft, and in the next second, whoop, they're all gone. Wait, we can't track them anymore. Where'd they go? They're on a mission. You like surprises? Where's that kid? Where's that kid? Do you like surprises?
Come over.
Where are we going?
Around.
The U.S. to Nicolas Maduro.
Do you like surprises?
I do.
Okay.
Somebody make this for me.
Where are we going?
Oh, around. It's a surprise. Do you like surprises?
I do.
Okay.
That's the U.S. government Delta,
Come over.
an entire
where we
air
going?
wing, just U.S. special operations
surprise.
to Nicolas Maduro.
Do you like surprises?
I do.
Okay.
That's perfect. Oh man. Let's see. Dave, privatization of their economy. Oh, we talked about that already. Reports are saying some operators caught bullets and shrapnel, but non-life-threatening. Yeah, they said nobody died, which is fantastic. I mean, from, American troops standpoint. Any confirmation about the strike on Chavez's tomb? I heard about that too. Breaking, we have just decimated the mausoleum of Hugo Chavez, rest in ashes. I mean, mausoleum has been blown up. Sean Penn. I mean, they're saying it's the mausoleum. But I got anti-socialist protesters were related to topple a Hugo Chavez statue in Venezuela. Imagine how I feel that President Trump just obliterated Chavez. I'm not seeing anything official. Let's use the Google machine. It's looking like it is. Cyber Cuba. U.S. bombs the mausoleum of Hugo Chavez in Caracas, and social media is wondering if Fidel Castro's would be next. Oh my God. Shut up. Is he in? He's in Cuba though, isn't he? So it's looking like it's confirmed that Chavez's tomb was bombed. Socialist militias in Colombia just lost most of their funding as well. We're going to rename Caracas to Baja Mar-a-Lago. Aha. That's interesting. Like, now that they don't have the autonomy, well, soon, right? They've lost some autonomy already, but they're going to lose even more funding. The cartels in the area that were supplied, money, protection, etc., by the Venezuelan government underneath Maduro, they're going to start. That has a large effect on an area. It's going to be very interesting. Maybe the Venezuelan Navy will attempt to free Maduro from the U.S. ship. Do you know how many sailors would be rock hard at that? Does that mean rich people are going to have to pay more or less for their coke now? Is that why Congress is up in arms? Yes. Yes. They're upset that they're going to pay more for their coke. That's definitely what's going to happen. Me and the guys at work, we're in a text message group, and we were talking about how kilos of coke might just go up significantly if in the next couple months. I remember during COVID, they were really expensive. There were some moments during COVID where like a key was like 70 grand, 60, 70 grand in New York. Now it's back down to like 20, 30, I think. It's been a minute since I've actually got the price. I haven't been involved in dope in a little while, so I don't know what a key's worth now on average. Crelane, very, very good point for everybody that doesn't like this. Very good point. Thank you for bringing this up. I fail to see how this is different than bin Laden. We got him in Pakistan, Congress free. Obama approved that, and nobody said shit. Everybody was behind that. Oh my God, who's that dumb bitch? Oh man. Oh, who's that dumb representative from Texas? I'm gonna tweet at her right now. Let's tweet at her. Let's tweet at who's that dumb bitch from Texas? Texas rep. Oh man, who's that dumb woman that we were just talking about earlier? Oh, there's handsome Brandon. There's handsome Brandon. Where is that? Let's go talk shit to her. Who's that stupid representative? There she is. Oh, what's her fucking name? Jasmine Crockett. Let's talk to Crockett. Which one is her? No stupid wars. He's out in Venezuela without congressional approval. This is the one. This is the one. Quote, hey, dummy. Hey, dummy, explain the difference between this and the operation. Pakistan. Hey, dummy, explain the difference between this and the operation to kill Osama bin Laden. Dude was in Pakistan and Obama approved it. Let's not call her a dummy, even though she is a dummy. Nah, fuck it. Send it. Dumbass wanting attention. We'll give you some attention. Who's the dumb bitch? AC, you gotta be more specific. I'm sorry. Everybody knew Jasmine Crockett right away. Everybody knew I meant Jasmine Crockett off the jump. Oh, you gotta be more specific when you say, who's a dumb bitch? Oh, oh God, yes. Turning off the transponders, then back on is the best game of peekaboo. Fuck. Oh my God, just the comments are coming in, guys. You're killing it. Doing God's work. Doing God's work. Can Let's Talk to Crockett be a reoccurring bit for future pods? Pretty please. It's not a bad idea. Let's talk to Crockett. Talk it to Crockett. Let's start talking to Crockett. I hate that shit. People can't afford groceries and millions are losing health care, but this is what we focus on. Nobody, throughout the course of history, everybody struggles with groceries. It just is what it is. And now it sucks. And right now they are expensive. I will say that. Millions are losing health care. But this is where his focus is. You know, you can focus on a bunch of different things at the same time, like the people of the United States not dying. It's not like he's like a one-trick pony and he can only focus on one thing at a time. That's why he has a cabinet. This is unconstitutional, not what the American people asked for. How is it unconstitutional? It's totally constitutional. When this stream started, we kind of talked about that a little bit. I touched on how people who just oppose the administration, you know, right, left, independent, doesn't matter, are going to say that this is unconstitutional when it very clearly is. I believe, like I said, I was talking about Article 10 of the U.S. Constitution and Article 2, where he's the commander-in-chief, and Article 10 allows him to do kinetic strikes against foreign entities that are terrorists or bad for the United States. Talk it to Crockett. Although everybody's calling me out, I'm like, AC, you said dumbass bitch. Like, you gotta be more specific. Lippo, Lippo says, I'm currently in the U.S. Air Force Reserve, but I was born in Venezuela. All my family is from there, and everyone is celebrating Maduro's capture. My only disappointment is that I didn't get to participate. Oh, man, wouldn't that have been cool? You did, dude. Hey, man, take a sense of pride, man. You're in the Brotherhood, all right? You are a member of the Air Force, all right? Your branch made significant what? Maybe significant is the incorrect term. Your branch provided significant support for the overall operation to include, like I said, over 160 aircraft. Like, your branch did that. You weren't there. You maybe didn't participate in it, but you're a part of that family that did it, dude. Take pride. Your Air Force did that. You're phenomenal. My Army guys did that. Win for the Army as a whole. Win for the Air Force as a whole. Win for the Department of War. Yeah, good point. You love watching the left back Putin's opinion. Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, just because you're a turd doesn't mean that you're not right. You know, even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? But it is funny when, you know, Putin's like, they shouldn't have done that. That's bad. We don't like that you did that. And, you know, the political opponents are like, yeah, Putin's right. Ah, fuck, shit, Putin's right. Jasmine Crockett. What a dumbass. What an absolute dumbass. Which one's... This one's got more followers. 1 hour ago. Can you run the one where you were elected to run? Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job. I mean, so far. I mean, I wish grocery prices would go down, but yeah. This is about oil. I mean, yeah, that too. It could be about a couple of things at once. Don't poison my people. Petrodollar. Building up the economy of a country that is in the same hemisphere as us, trying to keep Western power or Eastern powers away from the Western hemisphere. I mean, you could say negative things about it. You're not wrong. Where's the positive? Oh, I forgot. That's right. Everything, Orange Man bad. 2 hours. Oh my God. She won't shut up. She's so excited that she gets to shit on everything. She says fishermen are drug lords who should be killed. No evidence. That's retarded. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. You mean the guys with the massive amount of drugs in their boats that when they explode, drugs are recovered? You talk about that? You idiot. What a dumb, dumb person. What a dumb, dumb person. Okay, so 3 hours ago, 3 hours ago. Yes, Thomas Massey. Once again, two things can be true at once. All right, so she didn't post that dumb thing. So this is going to be like her burner, whatever account. And then this is her official. Whatever. I like the PSYOP line they put out. We may be called upon to do this type of operation again. I immediately thought of the unsaid word was Iran following the pregnant pause. I mean, that is one thing that I do commend Trump on, is that he leaves everything on the table, right? Like intentionally. People will take it and spin it. He'll be like, I don't know, maybe we're going to do boots on ground. Maybe we won't. That option was always there. If something happened, we were going to do it. If we could do it again. He doesn't say yes or no, which is nice because it keeps people in the world guessing, especially after a moment like this. Huggy, interesting point. Hunger and healthcare should be the focus of regional leaders like governors, congressmen and women. Lowest level. I'm with that. I'm hard for the troops this morning. Some real American kick-ass shit. America, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah. Can we get rid of the Ayatollah next? We got to let the people do that. I don't want to get sucked into Iran. First time catching live. Glad you dig it. Nothing else that sends a message to the world that America has its balls back and they are made of brass. Brother, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. What an interesting day. What an absolutely interesting day. Let's see what NBC says.
To the city of Doral to do some reporting there and talk to a lot of Venezuelan Americans and Cuban Americans who are celebrating out in the streets. Hallie, before I hand it over to you, I do have a...
Oh, look at that. They're talking about people celebrating.
The U.S. military in essentially paving the way.
Having it fall into the wrong hands, the president said. I also asked President Trump what his conversation was like with Nicolas Maduro. Trump said earlier on Fox News this morning that the two last spoke a week ago. The president telling
about a week ago
to surrender, and then telling me he actually thought that he would have. Of course, we know now is not the case. President Trump saying, but Maduro wishes that he had. Again, so many more questions here. Under what authority is the United States going to be seizing this oil? Venezuela has about 300 billion barrels of reserve oil, the most in the world of any country. What authority is the United States using? There was a question asked to the president, and then he sort of funneled it to Secretary Rubio, why they didn't notify Congress before the strike. We know
you don't need to notify Congress before the strike.
On Capitol Hill,
we already talked about this. If you're at war with somebody, which you already declared war with these terrorist organizations, the narco-terrorism organizations, just like President Trump okayed the Soleimani kill, just like President Obama okayed numerous drone strikes to include Osama bin Laden, which was a great point brought up by one of you guys in the chat. Congress does not need to be... Congress is not the be-all, end-all approval for the actions of the president. He is the executive power. That is the point of the position.
Committee leadership found out about this operation after it was already taking place. No advance warning. The president there saying it's because members of Congress leak. Certainly that is going to be a question asked by Democrats and Republicans.
I mean, yeah. Are we naive enough to think that people on the left side of the aisle would immediately blow this up and try to make it a political thing and then make sure it didn't happen?
Republicans up there, but so far,
I'm interested to see how this plays out. Like, we've got to give this time. It is going to be a year before we have significant economic growth or change / people put in power that need to be, that are going in the right direction consistently. We could see positive and negative, ups and downs over the next 4 or 6 months, but I'm talking about sustained stability, whether it be negative or positive stability.
Still, a lot of questions on what happens on the day after, but the president today in a nearly 1-hour news conference praising the operation that his administration conducted here. Tom?
Julie, you've been covering the president.
Let's see. It's some of the chats. Holy shit, something happened, and it's cool as fuck. I know. So when is the Angry Cops CNN new report coming out about this? Honestly, I think I'm going to do a Mahmoud's military menagerie before I do a DNN. Let's see. Fetterman. Did Fetterman approve the operation? Dude, I tell you what, man. I tell you what. That is a guy that can reach across the lines. I thought he was a weird humpback bald guy that couldn't walk and wore shitty clothes. And I tell you what, the more that he speaks, the more that I can reach across the aisle and like really appreciate a guy, really appreciate the Democratic Party for a guy like him.
Since he's been at Mar-a-Lago, walk our viewers through what happened over the last couple of days. I mean, when the president talks about watching this attack in real time.
Argentina celebrates the capture of Maduro while Mexico and Brazil condemn it. Well, if Mexico hates it, then it's great. They're losing some of their... Why wouldn't Mexico hate... Fucking Mexico is a real can of worms. I really don't understand them. I feel like I need to understand Mexico a little bit better, but their fucking narco-terrorism is insane down there. It's like New York City and Chicago and like during Prohibition. Except it's worse because they skin each other alive. They're fucking animals. Have you seen the video on X of them taking down the Maduro statues? No, I haven't. There's also no congressional authority for Operation Gothic Serpent, Black Hawk Down. Oh, during the Clinton administration. No shit. That's a real... Look at all these operations. That like all of a sudden Congress has a problem with, I love it. I love it. How do you feel about Operation Black Hawk Down taking down a Somali fucking drug lord? You're okay with that? All right. How do you feel about us killing Osama bin Laden? You okay with that? How do you feel about Salami? All right. You okay with us taking down Salami Mommy? You're okay with that? All right. Then what's the difference between this and that? Tell me. Lord of Illusion. Great line. Good for you for bringing that point up. Brilliant line. Stand by you.
From your understanding, this all happened while the president was at Mar-a-Lago?
It did happen while he was at Mar-a-Lago. We know the vice president, according to a statement I just got from the spokesperson, met with the president briefly yesterday as well, although he was not in Mar-a-Lago today, and he did not watch this operation take place last night. But the president had around him a full team. You'll note, Tom, that this wasn't the first day that he had that was extremely busy of the holiday week. He announced...
Yeah, Crillane, very good point. I want to see how many other countries start dealing with the cartels now that there's an example that's been set. I'm ready for the war on cartels, man. Just let's clean up Central America. Let's just push it down, right? We're going to push them all the way down to the Panama Canal. All right. And then we're going to make them fucking swim across. And then Venezuela's going to pick them off as they jump over into Colombia.
Strikes against Nigeria and northwestern Nigeria there last week on Christmas Day.
Oh, that's a good point. He's striking terrorists that are killing Christians in Nigeria. Anybody up in arms about that? Did we need to tell Congress about that? I'm sure we did. Biden spent special forces into Ukraine without congressional approval. I mean, Well, yeah, we've been training with
He
them.
hosted President
Not surprised.
Zelensky of Ukraine. He hosted Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. So this is a president that has been extremely occupied over this holiday break. He also earlier this week, or at the end of last week, announced a land strike against Venezuela, the first. And then yesterday, of course, we know that he met with Secretary Rubio, General Kane, who's the
He's done more in 1 year than Biden did in 4. And I'm talking about like significant things, not like just running up a flight of stairs or eating ice cream.
150 aircraft over Venezuela in the middle of
I didn't think I'd wake up to Trevor kidnapping a figurehead of Venezuela today.
10:46 p.m. last night, and then watched it unfold over the hours afterwards. We also know, as I just mentioned, the president did speak to Nicolas Maduro as recently as a week ago. So clearly President Trump here intimately involved. He also said earlier that this was a strike that they had planned for months, one that he had authorized around Christmas time, and one that they were ready to execute as recently as 4 days ago. But they were waiting for the perfect weather conditions. They found
Always
that
waiting for good
moment
weather
last night,
conditions.
and that is when the president gave the green light and they moved forward with this operation. One question that I still have, Tom, that we weren't able to ask in the room is whether any U.S. service members were injured. Were there any Venezuelan civilians that were injured on the ground? We know that the goal, according
Great point, Milo. You know, this entire operation goes to show how much the Pentagon had been compromised by the media when they got kicked out of our operations. When they got kicked out, mentally, our operations are going smooth. So I won't say, yeah. I think what you're trying to say is, and I lost a little bit in the lingo there, but you're saying that since Hegseth said you don't get to go into the Pentagon unless you sign this agreement stating you're not going to leak city or government secrets regarding military operations. And everyone's like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, listen, it is important to understand military operations. And if you want to have somebody from the Pentagon go and tell somebody, that's another thing. But like, you can't be in the Pentagon reporting on stuff and then you're like, oh, I'm just going to take the military secrets for operations that are ongoing, putting Americans' lives at risk, and I'm going to throw this out there. Like, no, you don't get to do that anymore. That's why you get like top secret security clearances. So then you can be trusted to keep a secret. Oh, secret. Oh my God, secret. Does that mean telling everybody? No, it doesn't. So it's funny. I can't disagree with you. I felt weird about it. I need to kind of retouch on how I feel about that, kicking the media out of the Pentagon. I think there's places that they should be. I think the reporting on military operations is good. I think the people knowing about special military operations after they've conducted is good. So then we can say, yes, more of that, or no, less of that. But I will say that's a good point. Hey, what do you know? Military operations are going really well and nobody's spilling the beans until after they happen, since we kicked the media out of the Pentagon, where everybody was getting buddied up with the media. A little too close, a little unprofessional, you might say. Good point.
according to General Kane, was that for this operation to take place with minimal civilian casualties and notably also minimal harm to those that were indicted, that is Nicolas Maduro and his wife, so they could be extradited to the U.S. and then processed and charged here on American soil. Those were the conditions that we know that the administration had, the U.S. military had, but we also know, Tom, this was extremely close hold so that nothing would tip off the Venezuelans, not even letting members of Congress know, even leadership ahead of time. And certainly, as we stand now today, one question that I asked the president that he did not answer, but certainly heard as he walked out of that room, are we now at war with Venezuela? That is not something that he was able to answer. But as you know, it is Congress that determines that, that authorizes war, that announces war, and they have not taken that step. Tom?
Julie Serkin for us. Julie, we thank you for that. I want to go to our senior national security
Single strike incident. We're not at war with them yet. We did a thing. We did a military operation, which was a law enforcement operation, which I think is very important wording by the administration. Hey, it's not really military, it's law enforcement operation, but the military needed to assist us.
Indeed,
there's your loophole.
Or is he playing
Geraldo, hold my beer, right?
Here in letting that new regime know in Venezuela that they are not done, that we still have the forces in the Caribbean ready to go.
And remember, he made similar threats after the U.S. strikes last summer in Iran, that it was possible that the U.S. would go in for more if they needed to. But what's striking, though, about this comment here, Tom, is he said that if, in fact, the U.S. were to go in for additional strikes or a second wave, it would be much larger and bigger. And it really begs the question of what would they need to be striking? If, in fact, this is going to unfold in the way that the president somewhat vaguely described here, that there would be U.S. officials, senior officials of the national security apparatus of the Trump administration who would be involved in running Venezuela and would essentially be involved in rebuilding the oil infrastructure and helping American companies go in there and exploit it, what would the need be for more strikes?
That's a very good point, especially if you're going to go in and rebuild everything that you just destroyed, right? You don't want to take out the infrastructure of their electrical or their oil producing whatever you want to call it, the economy at the moment. Because if you're going to go in there, you're going to spend billions to rebuild it. So you want to do as little damage as possible. And I tell you what, taking the president out of his fucking bed in the middle of the night is pretty good for you to be like, I will come into your home and remove you under the fucking darkest sky you've ever seen. I will find you. And I will kill you. You know, it's like fucking, where is he? Where is he? We need to. We need Liam Neeson right now. Hold on. What's it called? What's it called? What's it called? It's called. Taken.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you.
Yeah.
But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Good luck.
Boom. Awesome. That's what's happening right now. That is what's happening right now.
Against Venezuela, and particularly against the Venezuelan military. Now, one big question that we've talked about here already is the Venezuelan military going to respond in some way? The president,
no.
when asked about the possibility for sort of follow-on activity here, not just by the U.S., he made it very clear that Marco Rubio, Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, has been speaking with Venezuelan officials and seemed to address the fact that this wasn't likely to happen. But as you said, we may not know today, we may not even know tomorrow if in fact there will be some sort of a response here. Again, what's really striking about what's unfolded here today, Tom, is not just the fact that the president of Venezuela and his wife were apprehended and taken into custody by U.S. officials overnight, but the U.S. military, in essentially paving the way for that extraction operation, took extensive strikes against the Venezuelan military to do so, Tom.
Yeah, and then, Courtney, as far as what we know about the size of our forces there, right? If there were to be boots on the ground, how many troops are we talking about? Because as Richard pointed out, Venezuela is a massive country. Some of the borders are very hard to get through. They obviously went through Caracas with no problem tonight under the cover of darkness. But what are we talking about? How many forces, how many ships do we know that we have in the region?
Yeah, give me the numbers, guys. Give me the numbers.
At this point, we know there's more than 15,000, well over 15,000 men and women who are there. There's about a dozen U.S. Navy ships. There's tens, dozens and dozens of aircraft there, and that's not just fighter aircraft that would be associated with the carrier and the strike group, but there's fighter aircraft on land, there's tankers, there's support aircraft, there's drones. The bombers and some of the larger aircraft that were involved in this overnight, they most likely flew from the continental U.S. and not necessarily from the region, just given their size and their needs to be able, what they would need to be able to take off and fly a mission like this. But the real question is, what would the threat be that the U.S. would require putting troops on the ground there? So
yeah,
is this
it's a
we've
good
heard
question.
3 different explanations just today alone for why the U.S. carried this out. We heard from Secretary of State Marco Rubio that this was about taking down Maduro, who has oppressed his people, who has specifically targeted brutally opposition. The president talked about oil. Secretary Hegseth, he talked about drugs. So the real question is, what would the threat be that the U.S. military would be going in to address? That would dictate how many troops and the capabilities necessary.
Agreed.
And then, Courtney, I'm sure you're able to talk to your sources about sort of this operation. It had been building for months, right? And they had been moving some of the largest aircraft carriers that we have in our military to the region to prepare for this. They had been signaling this would happen, and ultimately it happened tonight. We also know from our reporting from some of our producers about the CIA and the operation they had within Venezuela, because it is stunning how quickly they got Maduro and how he was not even able to escape within his own country.
And remember,
or get to his safe room.
President Trump talked about authorizing that covert CIA action inside Venezuela last fall, back in October. It was shocking to hear, and then the White House and officials didn't deny it. So now we're getting a little bit more of a picture of exactly what that was. That it was there were teams that were involved and included U.S. military, not necessarily on the ground, but who were involved in this tracking this pattern of life.
Yeah, it's like support, of course. You think the Space Force and the United States Air Force aren't assisting in like surveillance operations? Of course.
He goes on a day-to-day basis trying to figure out where he may go. Presumably that was all what was brought into how they were able to precisely pinpoint target exactly where they were going to be at 2 o'clock in the morning.
All right.
You also just got to follow him until he goes to bed. I mean, it's not too crazy.
Our coverage here on NBC News Now as I make it out to the city of Doral to do some reporting there and talk to a lot of Venezuelan Americans and Cuban Americans who are celebrating out in the streets. Hallie, before I hand it over to you, I do have a question. I'm interested, how do you think this is going to play out within
NBC saying that people are celebrating in the streets, Venezuelans and Cubans celebrating. That's kind of like an attaboy to Trump, which is odd for NBC.
The MAGA base? With the America First policy, the president said it's sort of morphing to include the way we treat our neighbors to make sure we have safe neighbors. But with the economy where it is right now, with so many Americans concerned about inflation, the president clear with a foreign policy sort of offensive, if you will, both in Russia, in Ukraine, in Israel, in Gaza, and now Venezuela.
Sure.
How does this sort of all calculate into America First with his MAGA base? I'll leave you with that question as I come off the air and hand it over to you.
No, I appreciate that, Tom, and I think it's an excellent one, considering this is a president who, in so many ways, campaigned on being a president of peace. As you heard Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, describe him saying "no new wars," and this is something.
And we took out ISIS too. I don't understand how people forget that shit, right? He said it in his first tour, in his first presidential administration. He was like, "I don't want to start any wars. We're going to fix Afghanistan. We're going to do this." Nobody died for like 18 months in Afghanistan. You're like, holy shit, this can happen? ISIS in Syria and Iraq decimated. And he was like, no new wars. We're just gonna bomb the shit out of them. We're gonna use special operations forces that are highly trained, for kinetic events. And yeah, no new wars. Conflicts? Yes, of course. I don't think there's been a presidency that hasn't had a bombing of some form or fashion. I mean, obviously, you go back to 2001, since the Bush administration, yeah. But before then, Clinton? Yep. That was Mogadishu, wasn't it? I'm almost certain it was, because it was in the 90s. If not, you got Bush and Libya. And then you've got Ronald Reagan, Iran. Like, you've got the southern border with the Iran-Contra. And then, who's before him? Jimmy Carter? Jimmy Carter had Iran again. The hostages happened. Maybe Jimmy Carter didn't bomb somebody. It might have been the only one. And then who's before Carter? Johnson? And then Kennedy? Kennedy did. Johnson did. Was Vietnam. Nixon? Nixon was after LBJ. Nixon definitely bombed somebody. There's no way Nixon didn't. Anywho.
A split with President Trump, who said, boy, were we wrong about him. You heard him get that question about how is intervening in Venezuela in this way aligning with your America First ideals. And you heard the president respond that he thinks this is a national security issue. And that's why he got involved here. But I will say this, when you look broadly...
I mean, we don't grow cocaine in America. It's obviously all an import.
Voters do not want to see U.S.
I mean, there's probably a limited amount of cocaine. Majority of it's import.
So with that,
like
we're
probably
gonna thank
90,
Tom. We're gonna look forward to
95%.
seeing more of his reporting coming up in just a little bit on Nightly News. He will be back with us right here on NBC News. But for now, I'm Hallie Jackson in Washington.
But they're going to talk about the Venezuelans partying.
Of the attack on Venezuela. Of course, Nicolas Maduro, the now former leader of Venezuela, taken into custody. In just the last hour or so, we heard from President Trump at Mar-a-Lago in that lengthy news conference.
Yeah, no shit. I thought you were going to say that people were celebrating. I wanted to see your
Venezuela will take control
your touch
of
on
Venezuela
that.
Basically indefinitely here until there is a peaceful transfer of power. But again, no timeline.
Sappers go the way.
The president not
That you know they had sappers. You know they had their fucking engineers with a whole bunch of C4 and shit and cutting tools being like, let him get in the safe house. We don't want him in the safe house, but let him get in. I want to have fun.
Watched unfold here live in our rolling coverage hours after the U.S. staged that large-scale attack in the Venezuelan capital, removing that country's controversial leader, Nicolas Maduro, along with Maduro's wife. Both of them, we understand, are now headed to New York. They're expected to face criminal charges related to alleged narco-terrorism and other crimes. There is a lengthy indictment we're going to get into coming out of the Southern District of New York. And make no mistake, this is a big deal. This is a big moment here that marks the most direct American intervention in Latin America in decades. We've got a lot to cover here over the course of the next several hours. We expect more developments as the afternoon unfolds. You can watch them right here on NBC News. And I want to start with our chief international correspondent, Keir Simmons. And Keir, just to set the table here for a moment, there is now an indefinite time period where the United States will effectively run Venezuela. You heard the president talk about getting involved in oil, rebuilding, as he said, the oil infrastructure, using, frankly, the royal we, saying we will, talk about and decide what we do with this oil. There's that piece of it here. There's the question of Nicolas Maduro himself, what a trial would look like for him in this incredibly high-profile way, and then some of the criticism that you are already seeing now related to the legality of the action that the United States took in Venezuela and what happens next. So with that, Keir, give us a sense of your reporting. I know you've been working the phones, and what is most pressing to you?
Yeah, Hallie, multiple questions, and the biggest one surely has to be what happens in Venezuela now. And President Trump, before that news conference, asked that and said, well, who's going to leave Venezuela? And said, well, we're going to have to look at that right now.
We're going to look at that right now.
More of the kind of picture painted in, if you like.
Where's the Venezuelans celebrating? I literally heard them say there's Venezuelan people and Cuban people celebrating. If you want to have a good litmus test on whether we did a good thing or a bad thing, let's look at the amount of people that are upset and look at the amount of people that are happy, that are directly affected by the thing that we did. Am I retarded? Why would you just cock tease me with this?
And it does look as if President Trump is initially looking to Delcy Rodriguez, who was the vice president in Venezuela, who now appears to be taking over.
Bosley Beats, I'm not going to look at anything you say. Google search S411 Sierra 205 AKH. You'll find indictment details on JusticeX.gov, a 25-page PDF. I'll have to look that up. Imagine if Maduro was acquitted in a New York court. Wouldn't surprise me.
Appears to be an ambition.
He's just an immigrant.
That a U.S. team will run Venezuela along with some of the apparatus that was already there under Maduro, who is, of course, no longer there. The big picture, though, of course, is today, this afternoon, to this extraordinary operation, which President Trump described as amazing, like watching a TV show where U.S. Special Forces have moved into Caracas in the dead of night and have extracted Maduro and his wife. President Trump said that the U.S. was able to switch off the lights there in order to be able to carry out this operation. Talked about them penetrating, making their way through steel doors in order to get to the Venezuelan leader.
Yeah.
So all of that kind of daring do, if you like, will be reported out in the coming days. Just a quite simply a stunning operation by the U.S. military. And then, as you mentioned, President Maduro now.
I don't think you can deny the amount of the professionalism of the United States military and how effective we are at combat. We've been doing combat for 20 years. 20 fucking plus years that we've been doing in and outs and picking people up and fucking shit up in a country literally half the globe away. And you get to tell me that we can go down to a place that we vacation regularly and we can go have war there? Yes, we will take your president.
Part of this, Ali, and that is a message to the world that was talked about by President Trump and then underscored by Secretary Rubio.
I really feel like we're missing out here. Like,
this is a message to countries around the world that President Trump is not playing games.
Unfold. We've had statements come in from JetBlue, from United, from Southwest, from Delta, from American Airlines, all talking about impacts in various parts of the region because of what's going on here. And I think this is something we're going to potentially be following for days
what's
to
the
come,
impact?
because if you have a plane that can't get from point A to point B, that can have a cascading effect.
No shit.
That is something that certainly is going to be impacting Americans who weren't necessarily in Venezuela. And then just going back to where we started, Hallie, when you're talking about this is something that had been alluded to.
okay, so there are people that are celebrating. Oh my gosh, Latin women, very excited.
Takes things to a whole nother level with the president saying that Nicolas Maduro has been
Get it,
captured
Mom.
by the United States, with the attorney general saying he will
Torta. There's a torta.
justice on American soil.
You know what a torta
And
is.
I was in Doral, Florida, which is affectionately known as Venezuela, has a massive.
They can make Venezuela great again flags.
Americans and Venezuelan expats, and we're speaking with people there. It was just scenes of elation.
So these are Americans, I'm assuming in Houston, that are celebrating, that are happy that they fled during the Maduro regime.
And from then until we left that area around 12:30 in the afternoon, it was just loud.
Bravo, you say your sister and a bunch of her Venezuelan co-workers left early to go celebrate in Utah. Good for you.
National anthem of the United States. People holding up signs and flags, including from Marina Machado, the opposition leader who recently won the Nobel Peace Prize from Venezuela, was able to get out with, she says, U.S. help. So just all kinds of support, pointing both to the unanswered questions about what the future is for that country, but also just moments of joy and relief for people who wanted to see this. Of course, this is not something that is being universally celebrated, but definitely there are elements of...
Yeah, listen, all jokes aside, yeah, the Venezuela's going to be the 51st state. It ain't. It's not going to be. It's a stand-up country. It's its own thing. They're not going to be a state. They're not going to be a territory.
Her father is still in Venezuela, and she hasn't been able to see him for close to 3 years. A man told me that his grandmother, for him to see his grandmother in recent years, they had to meet in Europe, because they couldn't just fly to one or the other. And I think those are the kinds of situations that people are going to be thinking about in their head and potentially hoping will not continue to be the way they have to operate as a family across borders. So that is the scene, just a microcosm of that.
Let's see. The biggest problem with all we're all failing to see is that the Little Hat 2 Crow Club is real happy about this. Just, the Jews, come on. So what? Because it's better, because Iran's not getting oil. Just because a country likes something doesn't mean, especially the Jews, especially Israel, just because Israel likes something doesn't mean that it was in their plan the entire time and they're behind it pulling the strings. You could be an opportunist. The Jews made Trump take out Maduro. Is that really, that's your bingo card from this? Come on. I mean, that when all you have is a hammer, every problem is a nail, bud. Like, I don't think that Israel's really the
USS Iwo Jima back
the
to
story
United
on
States
this one.
And there are some real questions that remain. You heard Keir and Jesse talk through some of them, including leadership of Venezuela moving forward. Right now, it seems as though, based on what the president has suggested, it's
Special Forces breaks into Maduro's room. I'm not dictating, I'm traveling. I'm engaging in legal sovereign citizen. Bang!
In Venezuela, there was a reference
Good one.
to the Venezuelan Vice President who has now been sworn in as President, Delcy Rodriguez, somebody who worked alongside Maduro for years, Monica. How does that interplay work? How does that function? Do we know yet, or is that an open question?
I think that is an absolute open question, Hallie, and a critical
I have a friend there who's not celebrating. They're scared. They hate Maduro, but we're more afraid of U.S. occupation due to history.
Is going to effectively
Do you have like a cartoon Final Fantasy cover as your profile picture? Are you 17?
Press conference that he held down at his club in Mar-a-Lago, saying that the actual details of
You know what? Let's talk about that. You want to know what the history is of U.S. occupation? Germany, East and West Germany. Communism thought that they could take over the country. We took over half, the western half of just Berlin and the western half of the country, Berlin being its own separate little island in there. And we outlasted communism. The city of Berlin surrounded by communism and only half of the city being capitalist. Oh, my camera turned off. And we were still able to fly more things to Germany and help them out. World War I, World War II, the Lend-Lease program. Our occupation, besides Iraq and Afghanistan, countries that we thought were trying to attack us, has been pretty darn good prior to that. Child. Every Secret Service equivalent around the world are probably having very nervous conversations right now. You're watching live coverage of the rage. It was clean reports on planes, explosions, some tiny grainy shots of helos, then nothing for 2.5 hours because they killed their internet. All right, gang, my camera's overheating because I'm just so excited. So that's telling me that we've got to end it. I can tell you right now that we're trying to get kind of consensual together so then we can film. So enjoy that. Thanks for stopping by. By the way, I'm going to be streaming more on Angry Streams, which is the streaming channel. I don't stream on this channel very often unless it's major breaking news that I want to talk about with you, which today I think was absolutely phenomenal. We learned a lot about different things and how to juxtapose this conflict with other conflicts in the past. Best way to support the channel is get yourself a shirt. Cheapest way to support the channel is to share it and write a comment. If you hate it, put a thumbs down. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. I don't care about that. As long as you just leave a comment. That's all you got to do, kid. Comments were outstanding today. Comments were absolutely outstanding. Chat was on fire. You guys really talked about a lot of stuff. And look at that. We came together like a community and educated each other on some of our shortfalls, shortcomings, and some of the information that was getting put out there. So, links are down below in the description. Can't wait to make the kind of consensual episode. It's going to be fun. All right, I'm signing off, guys. See you next time, weirdos.